Fanalysis combines the data made popular in fantasy football with the latest sports betting trends, and that's how we find the sharpest angles. And for that, we turn to Tim Murray, the co-host of VSiN PrimeTime, weeknights 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Tim, great to have you with us and chat a little bit about the Super Bowl after 14 days, essentially, of talking about this. The Super Bowl is the most bet game in the nation every year. For 2 weeks, Joe Public has been poring over the stats, and what we found is that 66% of the bets and 67% of the tickets are all on KC. So, are you hopping on Joe Public's tails, or are you fading the public?
Well, it's an interesting discussion when you look at betting splits, because not all betting splits are created equal. And depending on where you look and what states you're getting the numbers from, it might be skewed. So a lot of the bookmakers I've talked to here in Nevada have been actually seeing more Eagles action come in. And what's interesting when you talk to different odds makers, which is the point spread is obviously very tight. But if you're getting numbers based solely on the point spread, it's probably going to be more towards an Eagles lean, right? They're going to lay the short number with the Eagles. But if you ask an odds maker about the money line, it's more than likely going to be a Chiefs lean because you're getting that plus money. The thought out there is likely going to be this: if you like the Kansas City Chiefs, you're going to take the money line because the point spread is so short. It's unlikely a game lands one, and you can get a little bit of plus money on the Chiefs. So I think that is an interesting factor when, look, we have so much information. It makes my job a lot easier at our fingertips now from all these different sports books out there across the country. So, yeah, just keep an eye on that, because you're going to see a lot of information. None of it's wrong, right, but you're just going to see a lot of different information out there from different books. And, different books are going to get different action. And, you look at a place like Louisiana. I talked to a sports book actually in the state of Mississippi, not Louisiana, and they're leaning more towards the Eagles right now. It's very interesting to see where the country is going. But as for the game, I do like the Kansas City Chiefs. I am on the Kansas City Chiefs. I took +2 with the Kansas City Chiefs here, and honestly, if the Philadelphia Eagles were the underdog, I might be leaning towards the Eagles. I think it's a true pick'em type of game, and when it comes down to me, is I believe at the end of the day, I've got the best quarterback in the world on Kansas City, and I'm going to roll with him. And, there's a trend out there that might make you a little bit worried if you're a Kansas City Chief backer like myself. The last 9 reigning MVPs have gone on to lose the Super Bowl, and the last time we saw a MVP of the league win a Super Bowl, the year that he won the MVP was back in 1999 with Kurt Warner. So hopefully Patrick Mahomes can buck that trend, and it won't be 10 in a row. But you look at the names: Brady, Ryan, Cam Newton, Peyton again, Tom Brady, Sean Alexander, Rich Gannon, Kurt Warner in 2001. So hopefully Patrick Mahomes doesn't make it 10 straight reigning MVPs to lose in the Super Bowl.
And you just brought in a name blast from the past, Sean Alexander. I haven't heard that name, it feels like, in 10 years. But that's interesting that you bring up some historical trends, because the favorites have actually won 3 out of the last 4 Super Bowls. So do historical trends mean something to you, or do you look more at what each team has done recently to decide which way you're leaning?
Well, I think, it's a great point you bring up. And I think when you're gambling, and obviously more and more people are getting involved into sports gambling, I think trends are important. And everything, however you go about betting, nothing is going to be a blind way to bet. And I think historical trends are something that it's important to take a look at. And if there is some sort of momentum, you're looking at a 4-year stretch. To me, I wouldn't consider that necessarily a trend. But, over a long stretch, if something is playing out and has been advantageous, or, has kind of been on the other side of the coin, then, yeah, I think you can utilize that as a piece of data. I think think ultimately when you're making your bet, it's like, making some sort of cake or pie, however you put in all those ingredients to come to your ultimate conclusion. So certainly it is something that I keep an eye on. But for me in this particular situation, I just think I'm going to go against that trend, and hopefully Patrick Mahomes can join the likes of, Kurt Warner in 99, Steve Young in 94, Bart Starr in 1966, win the MVP and then win Super Bowl MVP.
Well, I'm glad that you use that analogy of a cake. It's important to know which ingredients and write down which ingredients. How do you get to the point where you are? Because you're not going to learn whether or not your data was accurate or if it helped you or hurt you unless you make sure you keep a hold of that. But still, you brought up Patrick Mahomes. Man, I tell you what, this guy certainly answered questions about that high ankle sprain. 70% completion percentage in the playoffs so far this year. Do you like pairing a Mahomes MVP with the Chiefs' victory in a parlay?
So I do. I do in this situation. And I think, too, if you like the Chiefs, and look, as you mentioned, the Super Bowl is the most bet on event every single year, and it will be again. Records will be broken across this country because more and more states have legalized sports gambling. So I think a way to look at it, if you're looking for a more, juicy bet, so to speak, and you like the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if you like the Eagles, probably don't go this route. But if you like the Kansas City Chiefs, I'm of the strong belief that Patrick Mahomes, if the Chiefs win, is going to win the MVP. Well, you might say, well, obviously. I look on Philadelphia's side. Jalen Hurts is the rightful favorite, but I could see a lot of different methods to them winning it. Hassan Reddick, if there is a MVP for the NFC Championship game, I believe Hassan Reddick likely gets it. He knocked out the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers and wreaked absolute havoc back there. So I look around and I'm saying, how can I envision Patrick Mahomes not winning this? Well, let's think back to the AFC Championship game. Chris Jones was phenomenal, really changed the tenor of how the defense played for the Kansas City Chiefs. However, they won that game because of Patrick Mahomes. He was going to win MVP of that game. So, yes, Travis Kelce could have a big game, and you could see a couple interceptions for Patrick Mahomes. But let's think back to the only Super Bowl that Patrick Mahomes has won. Damian Williams should have won MVP of that game. Patrick Mahomes really didn't play all that well, and ultimately they gave it to Patrick Mahomes. So at plus 135 or so, I do think Patrick Mahomes, if you like the Chiefs like I do, is certainly worth a look to win Super Bowl MVP, because I have a hard time really envisioning outside of a multiple pick six, situation from, L'Jarius Sneed or something like that. I think it's going to be Patrick Mahomes winning the MVP if, in fact, the Chiefs win the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, last year, Cooper Kupp won the MVP, so they're not afraid to give it to a receiver, and certainly a majority of the offense runs through Travis Kelce. But you're right. They typically will like to go with a quarterback unless there's something big that happens defensively. And by the way, Hassan Reddick is at plus 4,000 to win the Super Bowl MVP. It's not out of the question to believe that the Eagles, with the pressure they're going to be putting on Patrick Mahomes, gets a couple of sacks, a couple of game-changing plays that could turn things around. But that's beside the point. I do agree. I think if the Chiefs win, Mahomes has to be the MVP. All right, fun props have always been something that we take a look at for a long time, but with one prop, you kind of run into a little bit of a math problem, and that's the coin toss. How do you feel about betting the coin toss?
So, look, it's the Super Bowl. You want to bet, you want to have fun, and I'm all for having fun. And look, with the legalization of sports gambling, it's so easy on our phones, or if you're old school with a ticket, that's fine. I have no issues, whatever you want to do to have some fun. But you mentioned math. Heads or tails is exactly 50-50. No matter if you're a tails never fails person, you can say it until you're blue in the face. But the fact of the matter is a coin toss is 50-50. Us sports gamblers think, well, I have an edge and I know that the Chiefs will have this, this, and this. When it comes to a coin toss, it's a flick of the thumb and it is 50-50. So why do I bring that up? because there might be sports books out there, and I know they're legalized in New York and New Jersey, that are asking for juice, which is the VIG, which is what the house brings in, minus 102, minus 103. I'm telling you, this is my plea to the New York area. Do not bet the coin toss with a VIG. If it's plus 100, go right ahead, because that's fair odds. What I recommend, if you want to bet the coin toss and it's that instant gratification, let's get the juices flowing, find someone at the Super Bowl party. You'll find someone who wants heads. You want tails? Bet that person. And then you exchange the $20, whether it be old school money or Venmo it, whatever it may be. But please, no VIG on the coin toss. My PSA to the world for Super Bowl Sunday.
The house wins every coin toss bet when they're at minus 110 on both sides of the coin. That's how he sees the play of the game and how not to bet the coin toss. But wait till you hear his props that he does like. Check out our other segment. We dive into that. For VSiN's Tim Murray, I'm Steve Overmyer. This is Fanalysis.